Oprah coming next. Once I establish this as a place of truth, oh yeah. Watch. God's people ain't that few.
Oprah's obviously a saintly, godlike figure who's revered by all decent people. Why would she exclude you?
I really don't know.
Crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
Have such stressful jobs. How do you unwind to relax at some time?
I think their job is stressful. I think being the Wonder Bread representative might be stressful.
Not compared to a real job. I will not disrespect the people here that work hard.
This isn't a real job.
This ain't no real job.
Oprah Winfrey. That name once meant truth, power, and hope. For decades, she stood as the queen of talk, the woman who could shape the world with a single question. But lately, that shiny crown's starting to slip, and the whispers have turned into roars. From comedians to Hollywood legends, people are calling her out. And this time, it's not just gossip. It's a movement.
I don't understand this person, so they're crazy. That's bullshit. These people are not crazy. They're strong people.
Oprah said that if Trump wins, you may never be able to vote again. That is the craziest thing when you go back and watch him on her show, where she was encouraging him to be president. You ever see that?
Now sees the opportunity, and that's why this is such a victory. Tomorrow, you will hear me doing the dance because...
See, Oprah built an empire on empathy, a smile that could melt hearts, a voice that felt like wisdom, and a platform that made dreams come true. But behind the glitter, more and more insiders are saying that the real story ain't so glamorous. The people once praising her are now pulling the curtain back, saying, hold on, maybe Oprah's not the saint she claims to be. And we're not talking about random haters online. This storm's coming from names that matter. Cat Williams, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Whoopi Goldberg, Kevin Hart, and even the author James Frey. The same man who once faced Oprah on her own stage and made her stumble. These aren't nobodies throwing shade. They're icons who've seen the machine up close, and they're saying the truth's been hidden for too long. Let's start with the loudest voice, Cat Williams, because when Cat talks, the whole internet listens. Lately, he's been going in on Oprah like never before, using interviews and stand-up shows to tear down her image. Cat claims Oprah's not just a talk show host. He says she's part of a system that controls, manipulates, and silences Black voices in Hollywood. He said straight up, Oprah ain't no angel. She just learned how to play the game and hide behind her charm. According to Kat, Oprah decides who gets a spotlight and who gets locked out, calling her the gatekeeper of Hollywood.
Oprah coming next. Once I establish this as a place of truth, oh yeah. Watch. God's people ain't that few.
And for many fans, that hit deep because Oprah's whole legacy was built on being the opposite, the helper, the healer, the listener. But Kat says that's just performance, that Oprah only brings you on her show if you're already playing on her team. He once joked, Oprah don't invite you to her show unless you already on her side. And that punchline carried truth. Kat believes she doesn't uplift your story. She owns it. And while some brush him off as paranoid or wild, things start to look different when other comedians start backing him up. Because when legends like Chappelle, Whoopi, and Rock begin echoing the same message, that's when you stop laughing and start wondering, is Oprah really who she says she is? Or has the Queen of Talk been running her own quiet kingdom all along, built not on truth, but control? When Dave Chappelle talks, you listen. Not because he's loud, but because every word hits deep. And his story with Oprah? Oh, it's the kind of Hollywood moment that changes how you see everything. It all goes back to 2006 when Dave walked away from his $50 million Chappelle's show deal, the move that shocked the whole entertainment world. People called him crazy, unstable, even lost. The media went wild trying to figure out what broke him. Then came Oprah, the so-called safe space for truth. She invited him to her show, smiling wide, acting like she wanted to understand him. But if you've watched that interview closely, you know something was off. On the surface, it looked like a friendly chat, two icons having a heart-to-heart. But Oprah's tone? It was different. Cold, condescending, almost like she wasn't trying to hear Dave, but to fix him in front of millions.
To do this in my business, I'm up here doing something that nobody else in this business has the balls to do. I'm telling you something that you need.
Every question she asked felt like a test. Fans later said Dave looked trapped, cornered, like she wanted to paint him as unstable instead of listening to his truth. That was the day, some say, Dave realized Oprah wasn't the ally he thought she was, that she might be part of the same system he was trying to escape, the very Hollywood machine that turns artists into products and truth into ratings. Dave never dragged her publicly, that's not his style. But if you know how to read between his jokes, you've heard the clues. He once said, Hollywood will break you if you don't play their game. And when he said their game, people knew exactly who he meant. Fans started piecing it together. Was Oprah one of them? The gatekeepers? The ones deciding who stays in the light and who gets erased? That interview became a warning sign, not just for Dave's followers, but for every artist trying to keep their soul in a business that feeds on control. And then there's Whoopi Goldberg, another legend who's been through it all.
Crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
Her connection with Oprah runs deep, but not always friendly. They both starred in The Color Purple, a film that changed their lives forever. But behind the camera, rumors say it wasn't all smiles. Insiders claim Whoopi felt Oprah was trying to rewrite history, positioning herself as the heart and soul of the movie while pushing everyone else to the sidelines. Years later, people noticed Whoopi stopped showing up to Oprah's events, even when they were in the same city. Oprah later tried to smooth it over, saying, "We've always been fine." But fans watching those interviews saw the truth. The tight smiles, the distance, the tension that never really disappeared. Whoopi's never been one to fake it. And on The View, she's thrown subtle shade more than once, talking about people who claim they're for the culture, but really only for themselves. The internet didn't need to guess who she meant. They already knew. And that's the thing. When even Hollywood royalty starts pulling away from Oprah, you can feel that something's changing.
We started our friendship, stayed up that first night and talked all night long. She has always been happier for me and everything that's ever happened to me.
The loyalty is gone, the fear is fading, and the truth? It's creeping into the light. One joke, one side eye, one story at a time. When Chris Rock steps on stage, you already know he's about to say something that hits where it hurts. He's not scared of Hollywood, and he's definitely not scared of calling out fake power. And lately, people have been realizing Chris might have been warning us about Oprah for years without saying her name. In his stand-up and interviews, Chris has dropped line after line that feels like a shot straight at the system Oprah represents. He once said, "Some folks make it in this business because they're talented. Some make it because they're obedient." Boom. That one sentence shook the room because everyone knew what he meant. When Hollywood talks about the obedient ones, Oprah's name floats right to the top. To many, she's the model citizen of the industry, polished, careful, always playing by the rules. But that's exactly the problem. Chris made it clear. Some people don't want to challenge the system because the system made them rich. And once you benefit from that machine, you'll do anything to protect it. There was even a time Oprah invited Chris for one of those big emotional sit-downs, the kind that turns someone's struggles into ratings gold. But Chris said no. He straight up refused the offer, saying he didn't need to be saved on TV. Fans caught the message immediately. That was code for, "I don't need Oprah turning my pain into her content." See, that's what people are starting to notice. Oprah built her empire on people's stories, but who really benefits? Chris wasn't about to let his story become another headline that boosted her brand. And the more he talked about Hollywood's obedience test, the more people started seeing how deep this power game runs. Then there's Kevin Hart, one of the hardest working comedians in the game, smart, strategic, and always cautious. Kevin doesn't go around starting beef, but even he couldn't dodge the conversation about Oprah's control over Hollywood. He's spoken about how certain people decide who gets a seat at the table, how Hollywood's family is just a performance, and how the real game is all about who plays nice with power. And though Kevin never called Oprah out by name, fans could read between the lines. He was saying the same thing the others were. When Monique went to war with Oprah and Tyler Perry over being blackballed, Kevin stayed diplomatic, saying, "I wish everybody peace, but the business is what it is." Translation? I know what's really going on, but I'm not about to say it out loud. Because everybody knows, hi, if you cross Oprah, your phone stops ringing.
Crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
And Kevin's no fool. He's built an empire too. But even in his silence, his body language said plenty. Now, all these voices, Cat Williams, Chappelle, Whoopi, Chris, Kevin, they're not random gossipers. They're people who've been inside the machine and they've seen how power moves when the cameras stop rolling. Now, this next story,
People were saying, though, that you were on drugs, you lost your mind, you went into a mental institution. What is true, what is not?
Not on drugs.
Not on drugs.
Nah, not for years.
Okay.
No, I'm not on drugs.
And you weren't on drugs at the time?
No, not at all, not at all. I'm telling you, I was incredibly stressed out. Love is like a nutrient. And I was deficient on vitamin love.
Really? Were you really?
I'm on Oprah, baby. Snap.
No, really, what was going on?
It's the one that made the world see Oprah bleed on her own stage. The day James Frey flipped her whole image upside down. Back in the early 2000s, James was the golden boy of literature. His book, A Million Little Pieces, was blowing up, a raw, emotional story about addiction and redemption. Oprah read it, loved it, and stamped it with that powerful Oprah's Book Club logo. The kind of approval that could turn an unknown writer into a superstar overnight. The book went viral, sales exploded, and James became a household name. But then, the truth hit. Reports came out exposing parts of the story as fabricated. Suddenly, that true story wasn't so true. And Oprah? She felt betrayed, or maybe just embarrassed that she'd backed a fake. Instead of handling it quietly behind the scenes, she did something wild. She called James back to her show and publicly humiliated him. In front of millions, she grilled him like a suspect, scolding him for lying to readers while he sat there red-faced, shaken, and clearly defeated. At the time, people clapped for her, saying she stood up for truth. But years later, that moment doesn't look like justice. It looks like revenge. Critics now say Oprah didn't want an apology. She wanted a spectacle, and James confirmed it himself. In later interviews, he said, she didn't want the truth. She wanted a show. That one line hit deep because it echoed what Cat Williams and Chappelle had already been saying.
People were saying, though, that you were on drugs, you lost your mind, you went into a mental institution. What is true, what is not?
Not on drugs.
Not on drugs.
Nah, not for years.
Okay.
No, I'm not on drugs.
And you weren't on drugs at the time?
No, not at all, not at all. I'm telling you, I was incredibly stressed out. Love is like a nutrient. And I was deficient on vitamin love.
Really? Were you really?
I'm on Oprah, baby. Snap.
No, really, what was going on?
That Oprah's empire isn't built on truth or healing, but control and manipulation. She didn't just want to expose him, she wanted to own him to remind everyone watching that on her stage, she decides who rises and who falls. That moment revealed something raw. The Queen of Talk wasn't just about empathy, she was about dominance. After that, James Frey disappeared from the spotlight for years. His career took a nosedive, and Oprah walked away untouched, her image still sparkling, at least for a while.
Make a movie, regardless of who you signed the deal with.
Yes.
Your job is to go and promote said movie. When they wanted you to come, and we've had this conversation, and I said if you had called me, I could have schooled you on what was expected.
But now, years later, people are rewatching that clip with new eyes. They're not seeing a hero defending truth. They're seeing a media giant crushing someone to protect her brand. And that's the pattern, isn't it? Every time someone crosses Oprah, their career just fades into thin air. From authors to actors, from her own protégés like Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, to powerhouse women like Monique and Iyanla Vanzant. They all learned the same painful lesson. When Oprah turns her back on you, Hollywood follows. It's like there's an invisible line, and once you step over it, you're out. The power she holds isn't just influence, it's control. The kind that can build or bury your name overnight. But here's where things get real, because now the same comedians and insiders who once stayed silent are using their voices, their jokes, and their platforms to fight back. They're saying the quiet part out loud, that Oprah's empire might have been built on people's pain. Let's be real. For years, Oprah Winfrey was untouchable. She wasn't just a talk show host, she was a cultural force. The woman who gave away cars, built schools in Africa, and turned trauma into television gold. Every time she cried on screen, people felt it. Every time she recommended a book, it sold out overnight. Oprah wasn't just famous, she was trusted. But now, that trust is fading fast, because the internet never forgets. And people are starting to look back at her old interviews with fresh eyes. And what they're finding? It's not pretty. Clips are resurfacing where Oprah's tone feels off. Moments where she pressured guests, made assumptions, or even turned their pain into ratings. People are watching these old moments and saying, how did we miss this before? Back in the day, Oprah's word was law. But now, fans are seeing through the act. They're realizing that maybe the compassion, the tears, the empathy, all of it might have had strings attached. Because for every person Oprah helped, there's another story of someone who says they got burned. Take Monique, for example, a powerhouse comedian who called Oprah out for blackballing her after she refused to play nice with the Hollywood crowd. Or Iyanla Vanzant, who once worked closely with Oprah but later revealed how controlling the environment was behind the scenes. Even Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz, both of whom got their big breaks under Oprah's wing, eventually drifted away. And once they did, Oprah acted like she barely knew them. The pattern's impossible to ignore now. Once you stop serving the Oprah narrative, you're done. She distances herself, and suddenly the media does too. That's why so many comedians are speaking out, and they're tired of being controlled, tired of walking on eggshells around someone who hides power behind kindness. When Cat Williams said, they play with your image and then sell it back to you, he wasn't just talking about Hollywood, he was talking about her. When Dave Chappelle said, sometimes you gotta walk away from money to keep your soul, fans knew exactly what that meant. And when Whoopi Goldberg throws those subtle looks on The View while talking about fake culture warriors, she doesn't need to say the name. Everyone already knows. It's wild because the same internet that once worshipped Oprah is now holding her accountable. Videos, interviews, and threads are exposing what looks like decades of quiet manipulation wrapped in charm and wisdom. For the first time in her career, Oprah's facing something she can't control. The collective voice of people who finally see through the illusion. The smile doesn't hit the same, the speeches don't sound as pure, and the power she once used to uplift people now feels like a leash around their stories. But the real shocker? It's how quickly the world's turning on her legacy. Because no matter how many good deeds she's done, the cracks are spreading. And every old clip, every interview, every tear is starting to look like part of a script. And if that's true, then the Queen of Talk might have built her throne on something far more fragile than anyone realized. So here's where it all comes together, the moment the internet finally flipped the script on Oprah Winfrey. For decades, she was the symbol of success, the woman who turned pain into power and inspired millions. But now that same world she ruled is holding a mirror up to her, and what they're seeing ain't the saintly figure she sold us. The truth is pouring out, clip by clip, story by story. A 27-minute compilation of comedians calling her out has been making the rounds online, and it's wild. It's not just jokes, it's confessions. Cat Williams, Dave Chappelle, Whoopi Goldberg, Chris Rock, Kevin Hart, all the heavyweights, exposing the hidden side of Oprah's empire. And fans aren't laughing, they're shocked. Every old smile, every deep question, every emotional moment now feels like an act. People are saying that behind all that charm, Oprah was the ultimate puppeteer, controlling narratives, owning people's pain, and cashing in on it for decades. Even her kindness looks different now, like it came with conditions. And here's what's crazy. The shift didn't happen overnight. It started small with a few jokes here and there, but now it's a full-on movement. The audience that once cried with her is now questioning everything. They're asking, was she helping people or using them? Because when the laughter fades and the lights go out, all that's left is the truth. People are finally remembering the careers that dimmed after crossing her. Monique, Iyanla Vanzant, James Frey, even her own protégés like Dr. Phil and Dr. Oz. Once you break from Oprah's circle, it's like your fame gets unplugged. That's not coincidence, that's power. But power doesn't last forever. The same audience that lifted Oprah to the top is now peeling back every layer, and it's not looking good. Fans are realizing that maybe Oprah wasn't guiding the culture, she was controlling it. And once people saw through that, the illusion shattered. Now her legacy hangs in the balance. Sure, she's still got billions, her network, her global reach, but the trust, that's gone. People remember not just what she gave, but what she took. The voices she silenced, the people she embarrassed, the truth she twisted to keep her throne shining, and maybe Cat Williams said it best. Comedy is truth wrapped in pain. That's exactly what this moment is. A painful truth finally breaking through decades of media magic. So what do you think? Are these comedians just bitter, or are they finally saying what everyone's been scared to admit? Because one thing's for sure, the days of Oprah being untouchable are long gone. The laughter has turned into truth-telling, and the truth, it's got her name written all over it. This is Street Fame Files, where fame meets reality and legends meet receipts. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments, because we've got more Hollywood stories they don't want you to hear. See you in the next one.